Hi, welcome back to Educator.com. Today's lesson will be about creating melody. We will be linking intervals and creating melodic pacing, adding the elements of rhythm, speed, pitch, and rests to a melody, adding a bass line or harmony to a melody. So we'll be actually creating our own intervals for the first time using our intervallic knowledge, using elements that we've looked at over the past few lessons, like using repetitive rhythm or a rise in pitch to indicate a melodic peak. And we'll begin with a 2-bar melody using a perfect fifth as the largest interval. So, by that I mean, I want your melody to use any note you want, except the largest interval can only be a fifth. For example, my melody will start with a C half note, and you can use a quarter note. You can use don't use whole notes. That's not enough movement. You need to use at least a half note or quarter notes. I'm moving from a C to a G, and then I'm going to take some quarter note movement. I'm going to add a slur, which means on the piano, I'll play those smoothly together, and I'll end on the C. So here's my fifth. And from this, G to F is a second, F to D is a minor third, and from D to C is a major second. So here's my biggest interval. That's the biggest one I've used. And I think it will sound pretty good. So whatever interval you guys want to use, make sure it's no bigger than a fifth. I did not use any third, any E natural. So it's hard to tell if my piece is in major or minor. That's not good or bad. It's just when you don't add the third is a qualifier. It qualifies your piece. Is it major or minor? You can't tell from these notes. Could be either. Okay, moving on to our next melody. Keep this. We're going to use this melody later. We're going to use another rule, a 2-bar melody using a major sixth as the largest interval. So here's the second melody with the biggest interval being a major sixth. I'm going to begin with a bit faster movement, and I'm going to go right ahead and just use up my big interval. This is a major sixth. I'm going to slur those notes. We're moving in we have a rapid, quick movement right in the beginning of my melody. Quick movement, big interval. And then I'm going to go ahead and end on a longer note there. So this is my major sixth, D, E, F, G, A, B. B is in the key of D. It's not sharp or flat. It's natural, which is fine. Then I have B to D. This is a minor third. D to C is a major second. And C to A is a minor third. So take your time, and you can find whatever notes that feel great to you. You can go low, you can go high, but since we're only limited to a major sixth, the most you could really have as an interval is, that's not really much of a melody though, so I want you to keep close to your original start key. If you do move up a major sixth like I did, maybe work your way back down afterwards. So let's see what my melody sounds like. I'm doing There it is. It sounds kind of like it could almost be in a minor key. So there's my melody. Keep this one too. We're going to come back to this one a little later. Okay, so we're going to change the rhythm to the first melody, and we're only going to use quarter notes and half notes. So, okay, my original melody starts with a half note, quarter note, half note. So what am I going to change here? I think I will change the rhythm somehow to those. So I will just repeat those notes, but one at a time we'll do quarter notes. Okay, on that side. Then 2 quarter notes I already have 2 quarter notes, so I'll keep those. And I've got another half note. Let's see, I'm going to make this to a quarter note, and I'm going to go back up to the D. So you can change your pitches if you want. I decided to. You don't have to. You can, if I wanted to, I could have kept the C and just added another quarter note. But this is just a fun challenge to see how you can accommodate these new changes and still kind of keep the integrity of your melody. Okay, so I accidentally wrote an F there instead of a D. I'll change it in a second. That's really different from my first melody. That's very still and dignified. This is a little happier. So that's a really interesting contrast. I only changed it a little bit. So we're going to make this into a D because I wrote the wrong note there. There we go. Okay, so moving on, we're going to change the rhythm of melody too, and we're going to speed it up. By that, I mean I want every note to be at least a quarter note, if not an eighth note. Okay, this is really going to change everything, if not an eighth or 16th note. Okay. Fun. Okay, so melody number 2. My melody number 2, whatever your melody number 2 is, let's speed it up. Okay, I started off quarter, quarter, half, quarter, dotted half. So it's good to have a plan before you start. How can I speed this up and make it interesting? Well, first of all, I'll make my D to B 2 eighth notes. So I have a lot more to figure out. I have a half note I've got to change. So I'm going to add some more notes. I'm going to take this half note and make it a quarter note. And I'm going to go ahead and add another note. I'm going to go back to the B. This will be a quarter note, and then I will add 2 eighth notes. So I'm pretty much keeping all of my original tones from the original melody, but you don't have to. You can add another interval if you like, which I'm going to do for my next measure. Because the interval from my D to C is a 7th. That's larger than the parameters we set out before. And keep the biggest interval under a major 6th. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the next measure. I'm going to add an A to my C and another A, D. So I've totally taken apart my dotted A half note, and I added notes that were already in my melody before. So all of my notes are at least a quarter note, if not an eighth note. And we're going to listen. Here we go. Whoops. So, it's much more cheerful than before. One more time. So, in general, what I found with my melodies is that when I speed the rhythm up, even without, I don't have a qualifying third in either of these, making it sound major or minor. Both of my melodies sounded a little darker, a little sadder, and when I speeded up the rhythm, that made them a little brighter, that made them seem a little more cheerful and a little more full of life. So that's definitely an aspect of rhythm that you can keep in mind when you're changing melodies or when you're approaching melody and thinking about what mood you want to set. Okay, so our first example will be creating a 2-bar melody using the progression major 1, minor 2, major 5, major 1. So we're going to start in the key of C to make it very simple. And by a progression, we mean at least 2 or 3 notes. So we're going to put the melody, I'm going to put my melody in the right hand and just have some chords holding in the left hand. So my first chord will be a half note C. Here's my 1. In my right hand, we'll also be doing a half note C. Now, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You can pick whatever key you like, and you can pick whatever notes you like, but they need to definitely honor the key you're in and the progression. So now I'm done with my C. I have C, E, G. Now I need my minor 2 chord, D, F, A. Okay, easy. I'm going to have kind of a easygoing melody, and my left hand will be adding another note. So here's my minor 2. Okay. The next measure, I need to find my 5. So I'm going to move my 5 in my key of C is G. So I'm going to go B, G. I'm going to do kind of a big leap here. And then my left hand will be holding a G chord. So let's move up to G. Here's my 5. And then I have to go back to 1. So here's my half note. My melody is very simple. It doesn't need to be a fancy like no, 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 melody. You can be very still and placid, calm melody. Okay, we're going to add another note here to make it extra fancy for the last chord of the piece. Okay. My keyboard is on the screen now. We're going to play this. Here's my major 1. Here, we'll make this a little bit higher. So here's my major 1. Here's my minor 2. Here's my major 5. I'm going to go to my B, and my left hand is jumping up to a G, B, and back to C. Let's do that again. So my melody alone, that's a really nice, pretty Mozartian melody. Okay, here we are with the left hand. 1, 2, here's my 5. Back to 1. So when you're done with your progression and your melody, it should sound pretty full and it should sound complete. The next melody we'll be using is a minor melody. We're going to use A minor since it's all white keys, very easy to see. And we're going to start with our 1 chord, which we'll use A, C, E. Okay, then we're going to use a major 3, C, E, G. So that's next. Then we have a major 5, which E to B, we need to add a G sharp. We're going to add an accidental in there without making this necessarily a harmonic minor scale. It's just going to be natural minor with an accidental. Okay, so let's begin and find our 1. I'm going to start in my right hand on the C. I'm going to move from a C to an E. Here's my 1, and my left hand will be holding just an A, since my right hand is moving between the 3rd and the 5th. Okay, my next chord that I'm going for is the major 3. So we're going to trade. My right hand is now going to, let's see, go back and hold this C in my left hand. What I mean by trade, my left hand's going to move this time. It's going to go E, C. So I don't have a G, but that's okay because what makes a chord minor or major is the 3rd, and I have the tonic in the 3rd, so I have enough. So here's my 3rd. Okay, now I need my major 5. Let's see, what am I going to do? I'm going to just hold this B, and now I need to find an E and a G sharp. So let's move to we're going to hold the, let's see, we need an E and a G sharp. So I'm going to move to here, this E and this G sharp. We're going to hold that. And now I need to find our A again. So this G sharp is definitely leading us to an A. We're going to keep our E, and this will move to an A. Okay, easy. So here's the 5, and here's the 1. All right, I think that has the exact right notes. Let's see how it sounds. And I'm going to begin with this. Now we need our major 5. Definitely really sad. So let's try that again. Our left hand has a 1, our right hand is going. The high note you can't see on the keyboard, but just trust me, it's there. So, and then we have our the melody moves a lot more in the beginning in this one and sort of slows down towards the end. So, our next example will be adding a bass line to our first melody. So I'm going to go back to my original melody before I added the fast rhythm and just go back to the original rhythm. Okay. I start with a C. Let's make this 1. Okay. So I'm going to have a C and a G, and I'm just going to hold that for 4 counts. This is outlining a 1 chord, so this whole measure can be 1, which is fine. Then I'm going to go to an F. Well, an F is the 4th scale degree of C, which is major. So let's fill this chord out, and let's move to an F and an A. We'll make this quarter notes. And then we have a D. I'm going to try to see how my minor 2 sounds. So I need a D, an F, and an A in my left hand. I'll just add a D to this and see how that sounds. And have my C and my E at the end. Okay. We have 1, 5, 2, 1. Let me make this a little higher so you can definitely see that this is ending on a 1. So I've created my own progression. 1, 4, 2, 1. That may not be what you end up with. That's fine. Hopefully you'll start with 1 and end with 1. You can end with 4 or 5 as well, but it's just interesting to see what you can end up harmonizing your melody with. So my melody starts on a C. My left hand has got the C major chord. I'm moving up to the 4, adding the D for the D minor, and then I'm having the C and E at the end. Let's try that again. Even the D minor sounds major after the F major, right? So listen. The D doesn't really change it that much. So it's interesting when you have a minor chord between 2 very powerful major chords, it almost doesn't sound minor. It almost just colors the major chords and gives them a little more texture and makes them sound even more interesting. Okay, so moving on to adding a bass line to melody 2. So let's take our melody 2. My melody 2, before I sped it up and got a little bit faster with it, was that. Whoops, no bar line yet. See, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. If that happens to you, just redraw the staff. It's a little curvy now. And then I'm ending on a, okay, let's see, what chords can I make with this? I'm starting on a D and ending on an A. So let's just say that I'm in the key of A. And let's figure out what happens. So if I'm in the key of A, I'll make this 1. And I'll make this a little lower because I'll need to write some notes in that section. Okay, this will be 1. Perhaps we'll start on 4. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. If it helps you to write out all of the notes of the minor scale go right ahead. 4 has D, F, and A. So there's my D. I'm going to harmonize that with just a D, an F, an A chord in my left hand. Here's 4. Now I have a B natural. What chord does B natural belong to in the A scale? Well, it can belong to the 2, or it can belong to the 7. I think I'm going to make it a 7. So 7 is major in A minor. Here's a B. I can find a G and a B. So here's my major 7. There's 4. Here, I'm going to make this a little more obvious. So 4, 7. What's next? We have another D. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to keep my 7 and just tie that. So, and I'm going to slur this. There we go. Okay, so this is still 7 because we still have the same G, B, D, G, B, B. So we have a B here, then we have a D. So the next chord is a C. What is in C? I need to figure out a way to get from 7 to 1. So far we have 4, 7, we have a question mark, and we have a 1. What will sound good between the 7 and the 1? Let's see. We have a C, so that's part of the third chord. Let's see how that sounds. C, E, G. So let's make a lot of these minor chords major. Like we have our C, we have a G happening here already. Let's just turn this into an E. Half note. Actually, we'll make it a quarter note to move at the top. And then we need to find an A. So we have an E and a G. Let's just make the G an A. And we'll keep the E. Okay. So, this is getting complicated. Okay, so if you can't read these notes very well, if you're copying mine, that's obviously great. A, E, and then we have C, G, E. Just so you can tell what these notes are, there's a lot going on in those measures. Okay, so let's see what our progression is going to sound like when we go from a 7 to a 3. And we can either look at the keyboard or just listen. And we'll start off by looking. Okay, so here's the 4. It starts in a minor, 4. Then it goes to major. And then it keeps major. We hold this. This is tied, so we don't rearticulate it. Then we're moving on to a major 3, which I didn't write down. So, and then we go to 1. So, ooh, that sounds really pretty. Let's try that again. So, here's the first chord, minor 4, major 7. We'll rearticulate that just for the heck of it. And interesting. So it starts in minor and it stays major for 3 counts, and then it goes back to minor at the very end. So it really feels more like a major key piece than a minor key piece. So we decided on 3. There are so many other things we could have done there, but this particular case we decided to go with 3. These are really fabulous to practice. I highly suggest you going through other made-up melodies that you create by yourself and filling them out with chords, and you'll feel very satisfied and your confidence will grow. The more you practice this, the more accomplished you'll feel, and you're only going to add to a general sense you have of what kind of music you want to write, what style, what genre, what kind of musician you are, what kind of music you're drawn to. So thank you for watching this installment, and stay tuned to Educator.com.